Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. And thank you all for being here and for spending one of your last precious slots with me. I really appreciate it. And of course, I know we've just had lunch. We're a little bit food coma-y, so I'm going to try and keep it entertaining and keep you awake. And I'm going to ask you to participate a little bit just so we keep the energy going, because I know, especially after 3 long days, it's very easy for the energy to slump. Just a quick note, I do reference a absolute bucket load of references like essays, blog pieces, videos in this talk. And I have some QR codes at the end, so if you want to go through and get the links, you can grab them. So don't worry if you don't need to snap a photo as I'm doing it. So if you want to read any of these things later. And also sharing stuff to read is one of my favorite hobbies. So if you ever want to connect to me because you need a good recommendation, please connect. Okay, so just in case you are not aware, this is actually a talk based on a blog. And you're very welcome to go read that blog. When I started writing this talk, I set myself the task that it would have entirely new content. I think I've basically hit that bar of quality, but I wanted to sort of both invite myself to introspect on why is this a talk and not a blog. So I wanted to make it a bit more interactive. And also I didn't want to just say again what I had actually written down for you to read at any point that you would like. So that's sort of the overview. So to kick off, what's going on? We're experiencing this existential change in our work lives, in our home lives, in society. It really feels like a pivot moment, there's so many things happening all at once. And okay, so there is something to see here. I think I have a lot of friends who are what I would call tech critics. So they spend a lot of their time critiquing what's going on in the field. And a lot of them have this sort of opinion oh, there's nothing to see here. It's just spicy autocorrect. And I think that's measurably wrong. And I think it's also an unproductive response to this moment in time. So that's why I want to start by saying I do think there is something to see here. And I think it does feel to me like the vibes are weird. And what I mean by that is, yes, vibes is a reference to vibe coding, but also everybody is feeling anxiety that their job might get automated. Everyone is feeling the anxiety of their friends who have been fired. It's a very sort of high churn, frothy moment in the market. And even beyond the tech sector, there's so much happening where people's jobs are being automated away. And as a society, this is really an existential challenge. So I want to acknowledge that at the top, and we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end. And I have a friend, Alan Nickel. Does anyone know Rasa? They did chatbots before AI was a thing. Yeah, one hand, awesome. They're a little old school, but they're still doing really good work. And Alan Nickel is a friend. He's also based in Berlin. And the thing that I really like in this quote is he says, the rate of improvement is so high and not slowing that sitting on your hands is not a defensible stance. And that's what I keep trying to remind myself when I'm feeling tired about learning yet one more thing is you do kind of have to sink or swim at this moment. Okay, so let's kick off with an activity, try and get some energy up. So this is a game called Slop or Not. It is based on Hot or Not. I'm just going to show you an image, and I'm going to get you to raise your hands if you think it is slop or not. That's the game. Okay, ready? Let's go fast. Slop or not? Is it slop or not? Yeah, slop. Okay, good. Next hand. Slop or not? That one was not too. Another fun one. Slop, yes. Have you seen this? This was an experiment by a researcher who published a paper that was accepted into a journal with this fun diagram in it. In case that is unaware to you. This one is for, of course, Luca, slop or not. This is what's called the Italian brain rot meme, and if you're unfamiliar with it, go check it out. Anyone recognize what this is? Shout it out.
It's a kind of dreaming hallucination for the old...
from DeepMind. Yeah. David was saying it's a dreaming hallucination from DeepMind. Now, I loved these outputs, and I thought they were incredibly bizarre, but my question to you is, slop or not?
Can I ask what your definition of slop is?
No. Slop or not? I'm genuinely curious. It's getting harder now, right? Slops? Okay. Slop or not? Oh, only a few hands. Okay, and last one, slop or not? See, everyone loves cats. But if you, it is. But if you look carefully, you will see that there is in fact an extra tail. Okay. Okay, let's get slightly more serious. Slop or not? This is, and this is not a trick question. This is just a very simple Pydantic base model that describes some strings and then populates them with a class. So it's not attempting to be difficult. Slop, not? No, no one's raising their hands. Good, that's the right question. Good. Okay, slop or not? This is a mutable default list that is then created once and shared by every call. Slop? Yeah? Okay, you guys are right. It is in fact slop. Again, I didn't define slop. Yeah, but this is not runnable code, or at least it's not great runnable code because it's going to conflict with itself very quickly. Exactly, it could be human slop or it could be AI slop. Okay, so thus ends the activity. So the point of this activity is that it is a form of evaluation, and I was actually inviting you all to give very quick gut feelings. And the reason I refused to answer Sam's great question, which is, what do we mean by slop, is that I wanted to sort of raise the point that we are all being invited to express opinions, to exert our judgment very rapidly without even defining criteria of success or talking about upon which axis we are trying to define if this thing is slop or not. So I mean, maybe the point of the fun exercise is that slop is not a good term and we need to come up with better metrics for what it is we're trying to define. But yeah, I think this is a phenomenon I'm noticing in this area is that we're all being invited to be generalists. We're making aesthetic decisions, we're making front-end decisions, we're making back-end decisions, we're making model design decisions all the time. And it means that we're moving across a bunch of different domains and we're really filling up our context window. And I don't know about you all, but for me, it's wrecking my executive function. I find it very, very tiring. Okay, video time.
Foil?
Yes, Richard, I'm aware the drone dispatching code has been deleted, and I'm working very hard to restore the right version.
Whoa. Drone code? Gabe just told me that the ticketing module got deleted.
Ticketing too? Fuck, that's problematic. I'll get on that next.
What the fuck is going on?
Based on the amount of work left to do and the number of hours left before the festival, I decided to task Son of Anton to use machine learning to debug some of our code.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? You gave your AI permission to overwrite code in the internal file system? Were you gonna tell me about this?
No. I thought that was the company policy these days.
Okay, well, your AI just failed epically.
That's unclear. It's possible that Son of Anton decided that the most efficient way to get rid of all the bugs was to get rid of all the software, which is technically and statistically correct. But artificial neural nets are sort of a black box.
Okay, so I love that specific line. I had to wait for the build up to get there. Delete all the bugs, delete all the software. Has anyone heard of this concept of paperclip maximizer? Yeah. Is this a topic? So that's a very nice example of a paperclip maximizer. But the thing that I'm anxious about, and I keep feeling is we have these ideas that what if these systems are going to run away with us and somehow optimize endlessly towards a goal that no longer makes sense. But I feel right now in what are we, June 2026? We're the paperclip maximizers. I feel like it's us. And the reason I say that is when I get onto LinkedIn or when I see the stuff that people are writing for each other at work or these enormous PRs that open source maintainers are being asked to reply to. I can't remember, sorry, talks are blurring in my mind. Did Samuel talk about these 20,000 line PRs that we get at Pydantic in the keynote? We get these insane PRs, and they're obviously AI generated, and the idea that we should, as humans, spend our precious attention bucks to invest in them is getting more and more laughable. It's just so hard to understand how to work with things when the amount of human time versus the amount of machine time is so high variance. But anyway, okay, so what's happening? In the era of AI, in the era of working with LLMs, we're breaking all these connections that previously held true. So in an earlier era, we had this idea that when you could communicate something about it, there was some meaning, some intention behind it. And when you see the appearance of effort, there is actually some experience of effort by the person producing that artifact. And also, the gloss of clarity usually corresponds to, or at least mostly correlates to, the actual understanding of a concept. But more and more these like assumptions and connections are getting broken for us, and it makes it very hard to engage with ideas, to engage with the world, to understand what you're looking at. This is a really amazing essay by Will Mandis on grindslop. And it's got a bunch of topics, but the thing that I really liked about the essay that I just wanted to pull out here is he talks about, this is a 1-2 punch. Why do we deserve so much? Why are you so rich? Because I suffer, because I do not sleep, because I have given up my life to something greater than myself, because my employees have scarred their flesh with my symbol, and on and on. And the thing that I notice, especially coming from like the hypiest spaces in Silicon Valley, is that people are really performing this like hyper productivity, and they're really like, falling over themselves to say, yeah, bro, I was vibe coding for like 16 hours for like the entire week. And I don't think this is progress, and I want to call it out and say it explicitly. And also that essay is really good, so I highly recommend you read it. So, what's going on here? What does this whole thing feel like when we work with agents, whether we're using them to write code? Who's using agents to write code day to day? Yeah. And who has agents in production? Just a couple? Yeah, that's what I expected. And who has like some projects that they're playing with that may eventually end up in production? Yeah, like more like 2/3 of us. Yeah, that's roughly what I thought. So what does it feel like when we're trying to build an agentic system? I love that.
About,
oh, sorry. Oh, okay. It did. One of the handoffs was autonomous. Heck yeah. Sorry. I had to set these videos to play autonomously so I didn't, or like to play automatically so I didn't like have to move my cursor to a tiny play button over there, but then I can't stop and talk about stuff. I just love that video because I felt like, oh yeah, this expresses to me so much the cognitive dissonance between what we are being sold that we should be doing and what I think the reality of these systems are right now. And then has anyone like used fast AI, or does anyone like in the kind of pre-2024 LLM era, do you like fast AI, Jeremy Howard, like Rachel Thomas? These names make any sense? Yeah, oh yes, Adam at the back, amazing. Well, this is
the thing about
absolutely amazing.
AI-based coding is that it's like a slot machine in that you have an illusion of control. You can get to craft your prompt and your list of MCPs and your skills and whatever, but in the end you pull the lever, right? You put in the prompt and something comes back and it's like cherry, bzz. It's like, oh, next time I'll change my prompt a bit, I'll add a bit more context, pull the lever again.
Okay, I'm gonna stop him there because I need to keep moving, but that whole interview is also amazing. But when I saw that particular moment, I had this like, aha, where I went, oh yes, okay, we are playing with Skinner boxes. We are experiencing the same dopamine hit as working as in a gambling, like in a casino. And that really like was illustrative for me to understand why it feels so different to classical engineering work from before November of last year. This is another great essay by Eric Ma talking about AI burnout. But I want to keep going because I'm realizing that I've only got like 15 more minutes to talk and I have to keep moving. You might have noticed that I have this little theme in my slides, and it's based on this phenomenon called, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation here, pareidolia. And what this means is where we see faces in objects that are like man-made, and sometimes they're designed to look like faces and sometimes they're not. But I find this a very nice metaphor for what it's like to work with agents, because despite our best efforts, we see faces, we see consciousnesses, we see entities where there are none. And it is one of the forms of cognitive load that we have to constantly grapple with, is when we are working with these systems, we are seeing faces where there are actually none. And yeah, it's a perpetual Turing test. We are straining to see where the uncanny valley ends and reality begins. And I want to add, like this, there are many, many layers of abstractions that are being added into our engineering workflow by adding these systems in. Like we have non-determinism for the first time. We have these stochastic systems. There's model weights and model tuning and data sets that we often can't interrogate if we're using a foundation model through an API online. There's just all these added details. So we have all the classical engineering concerns, and then we adding a bunch of extra things on top. So when I'm talking about this, it's not the only concern, it's yet another concern. And yeah, I think I mentioned before, but also everyone is experiencing some existential angst. Who are we as developers? What are our roles? And I think that is natural and normal, and it's worth acknowledging. And I wanted to flag that there was a workshop I went to at PyCon DE in Darmstadt in April of this year, where a bunch of us sat down and wrote all of these things that we were afraid of. And the one that was the most liked was wasting time by learning stuff that will be obsolete tomorrow. And I think this is a really telling fear, right? Because we are traditionally the people who love to learn. We are the people who sorry, I don't know why I just got really emotional. I feel a little overtired. Sorry, I just had this flashback to 20 years of experience in tech and feeling everyone just sharing their ideas with me. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm totally fine. I'm just an emotional girl, and it is.
Round of applause.
Thank you. Anyway, we are the people who love to learn and share our learnings, and seeing this fear really hit home for me. Okay, so other things that are hard about this moment. Friction is the thing that, as you build a system, helps you build your mental model of it. And often the sort of definition of the problem statement is discovered by doing. And one of the things that these systems are doing is taking away some of those doing loops from us. Another thing I wanted to talk about quickly is just the speed of feedback. So what do I mean by that? Just literally how long it takes from asking to getting a response. And we often see this number, time to first token quoted, which is basically the first token that's responded from the API. But that's not really the answer or the full output. That's just something has come back. And what we actually experience is the output of the model is more end-to-end latency, which is the time for you to act again. And if you're interested in systems design, there's this amazing essay by Donella Meadows called Systems Interventions. And she talks about, in particular, how the speed or the feedback loop is the most important thing for you to be able to actually make a meaningful change to that system. And the longer the feedback loop, the slower the iteration cycle, and the harder it is to move it, to drive it successfully towards a good spot. And of course, when you add things like reasoning or agent chaining or any of those things, that latency blows out more. And yes, what you feel is end-to-end, not time to first token. And again, an added layer of heaviness here, I feel, is that it's not just the speed you're waiting. I mean, look, I often have 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 sessions going at the same time. But of course, if I flick between them too fast, I lose the thread. And if I really want to focus on one task, it's so frustrating because I just want to keep moving. And every time I get a response, it's just a little bit too slow. And you feel like you're talking to a person. So it's not like you've let your Jupyter cell run and you're it takes as long as it takes. You feel like you're talking to a person who can't be arsed to reply to you. There's this, right? It feels bad in a way that just waiting for some tool to return does not. And yeah, it's not steerable because we're missing all of these heuristics, these handholds that we would normally have. And of course, again, I'm talking mostly about people using the closed source models from the foundation providers, but my understanding is that's the vast majority of us. And if you are working with open source models and hosting or fine-tuning them, seriously good for you, more power to you. But yeah, we're seeing them make a bunch of trade-offs that are made for their business model and their performance, not for our systems. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because when we want to be engineers, we want to have these tools to let us see under the hood and actually interrogate what's happening with the machine. Another amazing video I highly recommend, this is from AI Engineer Europe. Does anyone use Pi? Or heard of this Pi coding agent? Yeah, Yeah. So Mario Zechner gave this really lovely talk, and there was a lot of great stuff in there, but he was talking specifically about what he thought was his context window turned out not to be, and like the ways that that was adding like complexity and challenge to the engineering task that he was working with. And again, like this is this sort of like lack of observability, lack of vision that we have. Okay, so let's spend a little time on like what can make this better. I've spent a lot of time diagnosing the pain. So I think at a high level, our mental model should be we should optimize for human experience, developer experience, engineer experience over model output. And one offer to start that is like if you can't actually pop the hood, if you can't look under the hood of the machine and see what's going on, at least measure the exhaust. And what do I mean by that? Like just all the things we've already been talking about in this conference. I think there have been several talks that have referenced observability and tracing. I know Samuel talked about the tool we build at Logfire, the tool we build at Pydantic. There was other people, I think Tun, is he in the room? He was giving a workshop, hey man, giving a workshop on like Animal Crossing, and they were using like OTel and I forget the UI used. Jaeger, yeah, thank you. But there's a bunch of tools out there. I don't want to tell you ours is the only one. I just want you to go use one of them and start learning how to inspect the traces that come out of these systems. The only recommendation I would really give you is make sure you stick with something that uses the OTel semantic conventions and doesn't add a lot of pure fucking magic on top, because that really is the anti-pattern, right? It's when people want to lock you into their system because they don't want you to like take your traces and go somewhere else. So you want a system that makes it easy to work with the OTel semantics and not have to like think hard about it to understand what you're looking at. And of course, there's also online and offline evals. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. There have been some amazing talks and tutorials already on this topic. Lena gave a great one that I attended, which was about multi-turn evaluation or multi-chat conversation evaluation, which I found really interesting. But yeah, if at all possible, start to put up tools to help you measure your system and understand what it is producing. And remember that you're not seeing the full picture if you're using a foundation model. I'm not trying to shame anyone, it's just the reality. And if you keep that in your head, at least you know what's missing, not at random. Oh yes, which are all those things. Okay, some other suggestions I have for you. I've been using this technique called a pre-mortem. Has anyone heard of a pre-mortem? It's basically where you write a statement saying, okay, my PR or my feature or my whatever I'm working on failed. What went wrong? And you sort of, it's like the idea is you use the same techniques that you would use for a post-mortem, but assuming that it has gone wrong and trying to reverse engineer what went wrong. And you literally use that as a prompt. And I found that to be often more productive than just plan this feature and give me a set of steps to follow. Another one I like is just look through review comments and see if there are things to put into your system prompt, your repo level prompt. I know a lot of people are overstuffing their context. So of course you have to be very careful to decide what comments or what statements really belong there. But if you find yourself correcting the same thing in PRs over and over again, that is a smell, and it's something you should see if you can try and automate or improve. And also, I want to give you permission to just go write code if you feel like it. Like we shouldn't feel like we have to use these systems 24/7. Another thing to think of for when we are looking at the output, like just dealing with these big walls of text that these systems produce, is to remember that we are in control and we can tell them not to effing do that. So you can respect your cognitive limit and you can think about what is the most useful output for you to review for the given question or topic. So some ideas for how to chunk the output. You can ask just for short sentences or short paragraphs. You can say, explain this simply, explain it like I'm 5. A lot of people are saying produce an HTML doc for this, and what that is great for is doc outlining. So you can see concept hierarchies and you can scan, oh, I have more time than I thought. That's great. And yeah, you can really read through what's going on and not just I really like the terminal, but the terminal is a terrible reading experience, right? Like you have to get out of it. So don't give yourself this pain of just looking at scrolls and scrolls of text. Even when I use the web versions of these systems, I find that they tend to do this poorly unless you instruct them otherwise. And yeah, ask for spacing, ask for bullet lists, and if you want more examples like this, there's a good essay here by my dear friend Amy Gonzalez-Cameron, and she has a lot of suggestions. She actually comes from this academic discipline, which is evaluation science, which is not what we call evals. I just learned that is a whole academic discipline before any of the stuff we've been doing. So there's actually quite a lot to learn, and I like to try and remind myself that we are not lemmings, we are not goldfish, and it is our job to learn from other disciplines and other sciences and like bring those learnings into our work and not reinvent the wheel constantly. Another comment from Eric Ma that really resonated for me is he was feeling it's fascinating, thrilling, and exhilarating, but it left him feeling unmoored and drifting and questioning the permanence of what he was building. And I feel this a lot as well, like how long is this PR code going to be alive? How useful is it going to be? How long until we kill it? And I think that I just wanted to acknowledge that this is a pain because it ties in really nicely to the human topics that I want to offer, which is talk to your peers. I mean, talk to yourself, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, talk to people who are doing the same work as you, but a company over. I find for some reason that I am not jumping on pairing calls like I used to, and I have to really encourage myself to do it. And I think it's because in my head, there's this little voice that's like, oh, well, you could just be pairing with Claude or Codex or, Agent X. And I feel like I should just know the answer. But guess what? Like, pairing is productive. It produces shared knowledge and shared agreement and shared alignment, and it lets you learn together, and it makes it safe to ask questions. And I think that especially in the era of LLMs, like making it psychologically safe to ask questions and to continually question, what we are doing at both technical implementation at the higher level is really important. And also, if you're feeling one of these pains, you can say it out loud, and you can, if you hear someone saying it out loud, you can be like, oh, me too. And like, this is a really simple form of solidarity, but it's very human. And I can tell you something that like hearing that from a colleague will make you feel so much better than yet another, oh, that's really interesting, Laura, let's dive in, right? Like, if I could get Claude to just stop pretending to be a person, it would make me so happy. I would actually really like that. I don't know, maybe, yeah, like revert to an older model or talk to a human. And also I want to acknowledge, I do have friends who are really having a great time working with the systems, and I don't want to say like it's all doom and gloom. Like if you find, for example, that it's a safe place for you to ask a technical question you don't know the answer to, or even ask a sensitive human question you don't know the answer to, you can use these systems to sort of stress test things before you bring them into a more high-risk space, like talking about it with a boss or with a colleague. And I do think that it's important to allow ourselves to have some fun and appreciate it when these things go well, and not just like constantly focus on the negatives, which, we know our lizard brains are sort of wired to do that. So, give yourself permission to accept the dopamine hit and have a nice time if a nice time is to be had. And of course, we are not machines, so we need to protect our brains and bodies, and this is sort of circles back to the 14-hour days I was talking about before. I really do not believe in productivity over like 6 or 7 hours of like hard coding in a day. I think there's a hard limit to what our brains can do, and we should respect that, and we should keep it as a like given, because we're working to live, not living to work. So that means, try and take breaks. Don't sit at your desk for like 6 hours. I do this all the time. So this is for me as much as it is for you. Talk to humans when you can. Like, try not to have too many days in a row where you only talk to a robot. I mean, it's funny, but it's true, right? AI psychosis is a thing. Does anyone know Simon Willison? He's an amazing blogger. He actually he had a video that I forgot to put in here, which was, he basically said he gets 4 great hours of work done and then he stops. And I thought, wow, he's like been coding for longer than I have, and he's an amazing programmer, and he has all these incredible libraries. And this is what he thinks. Okay, that gave me some permission to say, okay, you don't have to try and smash it out. Also, a tool I like is Look Away, and it reminds me to stand up straight and like look at the sky, and I really love it. I'm a big sloucher. Like, I literally Gollum at my desk like this. Yeah, cool. Okay, so just a little bit of philosophy. We just have a minute or two before we finish up. So what is this doing to us? One more essay I'd like to offer is this essay by Remy Louf. Sorry, apologies to the French speakers in the room. He's the dot text guy. And he wrote yet another amazing essay where he basically was saying the bottleneck was never the code, the bottleneck was our decision making, our ability to align, our ability to understand what problems we're solving and then decide how we want to solve them. And I couldn't plus that sentiment harder. I feel like human alignment, human decision making is absolutely the biggest bottleneck I can see right now. I also want to remind ourselves that it is our jobs, and I think Rachel did an amazing job of covering this topic in her keynote yesterday morning, to constantly rebuild ourselves and to remember that our worth is not our economic productivity in the world. We are humans, we are allowed to be creatures, we are made of flesh and blood, and we are here to be alive. It is not our job to drive the economy, right? Everyone is going to tell you that that's your job, but it's really not. So I encourage you to give yourself permission to nope out from time to time, and to try and have a nice life, and to try and protect yourself, your human self at every level. I also wanted to flag this idea that just like capitalism writ large, a thing I've felt with using these systems is that they are democratizing the losses and privatizing the gains. And what I mean by that is, when I use an AI system and I get a bad output, I feel personally responsible for that. I feel like I am the one who, sorry, I swear too much. I'm the one who messed it up. I am the one who did not achieve prompt, nirvana, and it is my fault, personally. But when I get a system output that I am happy with, does it belong to me? Is it mine? I don't really know. I don't feel like it's mine in the same way that it was when I wrote that code by hand. And I think this is an interesting change in mindset that I want to name. I don't have a solution for it, but I just think it's important to acknowledge. And I would like to close on a little, if you don't know this video, this is from this incredible film called Koyaanisqatsi from 1982. And I think it's incredibly useful to remember that automation has and continues to be the human experience, the human existential challenge, but it is not new. So we'll just watch this for a minute, and then we'll have a moment for some questions. And also, you will never ever want to eat a sausage after watching this again. I live in Berlin, which is the land of sausages. And we have literally a sausage-themed saying for everything. One of them, I'm still learning German, so I'm not going to attempt to say this well in German because my accent's terrible, but it's essentially, you can also eat the sausage without the bread. And it's saying we'll make do. And I think it's a nice expression. Okay, and that's the end of that video. So yes, we have to experience this human challenge of being in this moment of existential change where it's our jobs to float between the macro and the micro at all times, the big systems that are changing and how economics and society and culture and meaning is changing, and at the same time, do some jobs, do work, be at work. So, to close, I'd just like to say, you're allowed to be tired. And so let's try and be more Star Trek and less Black Mirror. Thank you.